Yo, what if I told you there would not be any Marathon versus Arc Raiders? And as a matter of fact, they're actually carving out different sides of the same mountain. You might think I'm a little bit crazy, but no, you got to hear me out here. So we're going to use an analogy, all right? We're going to use a bucket analogy. We got 3 buckets here, all right? We have one bucket that are the PVE / casuals, all right? So that's one bucket, right? And there probably are more buckets, but I'm going to just keep it real simple for the sake of this video and for the sake of my sanity, right? So the PVE casual bucket, right? We have the extraction shooter enthusiast bucket, right? And then we also have bucket 3, which is the PvP casual, because believe it or not, the PvP casual does exist out there, okay? Now, talking Arc Raiders, we would say that majority of the player base is more than likely in that PvE casual bucket, right? And then following that, we would say that the remainder of the player base, for the most part, is in that extraction shooter enthusiast bucket, right? And then the smallest piece of player base, is that the best way to frame it? The smallest amount of the actual Arc Raiders player base would fall into the PvP casual bucket, right? And again, there are probably like 20 buckets and we can divvy it up. We're just keeping it simple here for the sake of this video, all right? Well, why is Arc Raiders so PvE casual friendly, right? Of course, proximity chat. For some reason, the nature that's just cultivated, or I should say the culture that's cultivated in Arc Raiders is just this like humanity versus Arc type of mindset. And how that brewed, I have no idea. But if you go into a solo lobby, even when I fight people in solos, my lobbies still end up being mad chill. People are running by each other like we are NPCs. Like, it's crazy, right? But either way, I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here. But Arc Raiders has mostly the PvE casual people. They enjoy taking out the matriarch, the queen, doing missions, fighting other different Arc variations. They enjoy doing all those things together, whether if it's solos, well, I would say mostly solos. Duos is kind of midway, and then trios, everybody's just throwing hands in trios, right? Again, I digress there, but that seems to be the consensus. For the extraction shooter enthusiasts, they play it because it's an extraction shooter. The lore is awesome. It's a beautiful game, runs well, so on and so forth. The gameplay loop is solid, right? And then the PvP casuals play because they like throwing hands from time to time, but also too, they like all the other stuff, right? So that is Arc Raiders in a nutshell, you know? Now let's talk about Marathon. What it's looking like for Marathon is, hold on, I gotta grab my homie, the real PvP, right? What it's looking like for Marathon is that Marathon is going to be in direct opposition of Arc Raiders, or I should say it's going to be the inverse of Arc Raiders, where I believe majority of the player base for Marathon will be the PvP casuals. And then the second largest bucket or group will be the extraction shooter enthusiasts / the people that prefer first-person shooters, right? And that's another little semi-bucket, right? Over with Arc Raiders, there's some people that prefer third-person. But again, we're not getting into that. I'm going to keep this in 3 buckets. So we have the PvP casuals, we have the extraction shooter enthusiasts, and then there's going to be the smallest amount, or excuse me, the smallest amount of the player base will probably be the PvE casuals. Right now, there still will be a PvE pool to Marathon because what's going to be happening in the cryo archive, and then the rest of the Marathon ship, and then the lore and everything that is going to come to fruition in Marathon, right? So there still will be that PvE base. And look, I may be totally wrong here. The game may come out and it may follow the same exact suit that Arc Raiders did, where solos is mad chill, duos is 50-50, and trios is straight hands. It very well may be like that. I just don't foresee it being that way, just how Bungie has set this game up to be delivered. When we watch Marathon trailers and stuff, we see how gritty it is. We see how like there literally is no humanity versus another entity. It's like, look, we're all contracted vigilantes, for lack of a better term. We're trying to actually oppose the UESC, which is like, I would say the UESC are like military space police, right? So we're in direct opposition to them, just to steal whatever we can get or find whatever we can get and take it back to the highest bidder. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think we have that same sense of community there, if that makes any sense at all. But who knows? I could be totally wrong, because Bungie is going to lure this game out and there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs. There's going to be a lot of PvE raid-like mechanics, dungeon-like mechanics, so on and so forth, right? But when you look at the movement, the gunplay, when you look at the trailers, the developer insights, majority of the clips they show are PvP clips, right? It's not like they're just running around shooting at the UESC. Now they are in some of the clips, but if you had to show every single clip that we've seen as of late, and let's just say it was like 50 total clips, 35 of those clips are like PvP clips. And I'm just making up, you know, arbitrary numbers here, but majority of the clips are PvP, you know, so I think it's safe to assume Bungie wants us throwing hands. No matter if it's in solos or trios, there's no duos confirmed yet. I do think if the player population is large enough that duos may come down or may come in the mix later down the road. But again, I digress there. So when it's all said and done, if you look at the bucket analogy there, you'll see that Marathon is going to be for mostly the PvP cats, the first person cats, the cats that just like extraction shooters, and Arc Raiders will continue to be mostly for the PvE cats and still some of the extraction shooter enthusiasts and the people that enjoy the third person gameplay loop, right? But when you look at it in totality, there's not going to be a crap ton of overlap, right? It's not like they're going to be heads up. This isn't Call of Duty versus Battlefield, right? Those games are heads up. They're both military shooters. They have some of the same weapon architecture across the games. You can find an MP5 in Battlefield and Call of Duty. Of course, they're named different things, and M4, so on and so forth, right? In Arc Raiders, you aren't finding I'm trying to think of a name of a gun from Arc Raiders. I can't remember, not Arc Raiders, but Marathon. I can't remember just at this moment in time, but you're not going to find an Arc Raiders SMG, a Marathon SMG in Arc Raiders. You're not going to find the Renegade in Marathon. You know what I'm saying? So there's not going to be a ton of lappage there. And that's the way it should be, right? These are two different extraction shooters going for two different feels, two different vibes, and two different gameplay loops. And honestly, I think that's just fine. And look, I know there's going to be some people that say, oh man, Marathon's player count is not going to touch Arc Raiders. And that very well may be the case, but that is okay. That is okay, right? I think Arc Raiders can be the gold standard. Gosh, my brain is not working. Apologies. I think Arc Raiders can be the gold standard for what an extraction shooter could be, that's accessible to everybody, right? And I think Marathon could be the gold standard of, hey, look, this is what more of a competitive extraction shooter looks like, right? Because in Marathon, we're going to have the build crafting. Again, it's more nitty gritty. We're going to find ourselves PvPing a lot more because the maps will call for it, so on and so forth, right? Where Arc Raiders, we can negotiate, talk ourselves out of it. We could be fighting and then realize that, you know, the queen pulls up on us because we weren't paying attention, and now we're teaming to fight the queen. We all get queen reactors and we all hit a hatch key together, right? Like, hey, you know, teamwork. Marathon probably isn't going to be like that, and that's cool. Like, Bungie, keep leaning into that. Keep doing your thing. Embark, you all keep doing your thing with Arc Raiders, and that's all good. We can all eat here, trust and believe it. And really, when it's all said and done, I'm glad that's happening, because us as gamers, we're going to get better products as a byproduct, because even though they aren't in direct competition with one another, they are still in competition in some capacity because they are competing for our time. So if there's something that looks enticing in Arc Raiders, then I'm like, yo, this would be dope to play. They just dropped a new map or a new arc, or there's something that makes me want to go play Arc Raiders right now. Marathon is going to be like, dang, they just pulled Cray away from us. Man, we got to get Cray back, right? So Marathon is going to drop, you know, another map or another part of the Marathon ship that has some secrets in it that leads to these raid-like mechanics for me to get this certain weapon. And I'm like, oh, snap, I got to go back to Marathon here, right? Two different experiences, because with Arc Raiders, I could team up with everybody and we just, you know, go fight the Arc as a family, right? And Marathon is like, yo, I gotta go beat up these other cats to have the opportunity to access that room to go fight the raid-like boss to be able to get the weaponry. So two different experiences, you know what I'm saying? Two different experiences. And I think us as the gamer / consumer, we will benefit the most from it. And folks, with that all being said, your boy is going to shut up right now. I'm going to hand the mic to you all. Let me know down in the comments, are you all excited for Marathon? Do you all, like, Do you all resonate with what I'm saying here, or am I just talking out of the side of my neck? Like, have I lost my sanity? That could have very well been the case. But either way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I love you all. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.